Hello beautiful art people, it's Gabe here again with another painting tutorial. Yes! Today, believe it or not, we're gonna paint this painting right here. It's a nice little boat. It's hanging out in a little sea or in a little river or in a bay. I don't know, who am I to judge? I don't judge. That's just who I am. These are the paints that we're gonna use today. We have this green right here. It's called Pytho green, I think, but it's spelled Pytho. I don't know, I don't make the rules. But we're just gonna have a little bit of true blue, black, red, white, deep yellow, and burnt sienna. You wanna make sure that that sienna is nice and burnt. These are the brushes that I'm gonna use today. We have this big brush here. His name is Megatron. He's a wide flat brush. And then we have this brush right here. His name is Ignacio, and he's a little bit more pointed. If he's a little bit round at the top, that's good. That's what you want. And then we have this small brush here, which I'm gonna name Pytho. You will also need a water cup here and a paper towel. It's very important you don't drink out of that water cup, which I've done plenty of times. Okay, so if this is your first time painting with acrylics, don't worry, I'm gonna break it down super simple. When it comes to painting with acrylics, you just wanna start with what's in the background of their painting, and then you work your way up to the foreground of the painting. We're gonna start off here with Megatron. So we'll go ahead and dip them into the water cup, and then dry them off on the side of the cup here, and dab them on the paper towel. Dab, dab. So first things first, we're gonna take a scoop of this white paint, and I'm gonna put it over here on the side of the palette, whether you're using a paint palette or a plate like me. And now I'm gonna take a scoop of this blue paint, and I'm gonna mix the two together to form light blue. It's so pretty. And now we're just gonna go ahead and start painting. We wanna go really wide brush strokes from one side of the canvas to the other. You wanna do brush strokes nice and wide. And we're gonna bring this blue about 3 or 4 inches down right here. So we're going from one side to the other here. We're just gonna fill up this space. And we're also gonna paint the sides of our canvases as well, because you wanna get the edges here, because when you hang it up on the wall, it'll look like a nice complete painting, and you won't have to get a frame for it. And don't forget the top of the canvas as well. That's the background of the sky. We'll go ahead and do the clouds a little bit later once the blue dries a little bit. But for now, we can take Megatron and we can swirl him around in the water cup. You want to swirl him round and round. We're going to get all the blue off of this brush. So we'll dry him off on the side of the cup here. Dab him on the paper towel. Dab, dab. And now it's time for the mountains. We can go ahead and take a scoop of this deep yellow, and I'm going to put it right here on the side of my plate or your palette. And then take a scoop of this green right here, the Pytho green. I like calling it Pytho though. Let's be real. And now we're gonna mix the two together, and it's gonna give us this more yellowed green here. It's a little bit more of a true green. And we can go ahead and just draw this mountain line right here. So I'm gonna go along and just kind of draw the shape of my mountain. So I'm just gonna kind of go like that, and then grow this out like over here, and then like another little mountain right here. So that's kind of like how my mountains are going to be shaped here. I'm just going to bring this whole part down in general about 3 inches or so. So I'm just going to go all the way across here, and I'm just going to fill it in with this green color here. Wrap it around the side of your canvas too while you're at it. Bring it down a little bit lower. So you kind of want like a separation of textures between your sky and your mountain. So I'm just going to take Megatron here, and I'm just going to dab him across here just to make it a little bit less smooth. And now instead of seeing like clean brush strokes and whatnot, you get this kind of mountainous texture here that we'll still build on with other colors. Now that we have the base layer of our mountain here, we can get started on the sand that's right in front. So the sand's easy. We're just going to take a scoop of our white paint again and put it over here next to the burnt sienna. So burnt. And we're going to mix the two together. It's gonna give us kind of like this light brown color. So we're gonna add a little bit of yellow to that too. And now for the sand, we're gonna go about 1 to 1.5 inches right underneath the mountain skyline. So I'm just gonna take this brush here, and I'm just gonna bring it all the way across. And then just wrap this around both sides of the canvas here. And now I'm gonna add a little bit of white onto my palette. I'm gonna make the same color but just a little bit lighter. And I'm gonna come in from the top here. And I'm gonna dab it on the color that's underneath it. That way we have like this nice little gradient. So you want the sand to be textured. So instead of doing like smooth brush strokes, we're just dabbing it on there. Just along the top half of this sandbar here. And now I'm gonna clean off my brush a little bit. You don't have to clean it off that well because we're gonna use a semi-similar color. And now we're just gonna go in with the burnt sienna on its own, so not mixed with anything. And we're gonna go along the bottom of the sand here. And we're just gonna dab this up from the bottom now. So you should only be going up about halfway on the sandbar here. Don't go more than halfway, because you don't wanna darken up the top part. So now we have this light sand with this dark sand here on the bottom. So the last thing that I'm gonna do to the sand before we're done is we're gonna go in with our original sand color, this color right here, and we're gonna go through the middle of the sandbar just to kind of even out the light tone and the dark tone. You know, we want kind of like this mid-tone in there. So again, I'm just using my original color, and now I'm just gonna go along the center of the sandbar and just eases up that little transition from the dark to the light sand. Make sure you get the sand on the edges of the canvas too. And now it's time to move on to the water. So we're still gonna use Megatron here. So we're gonna swirl them around. We're gonna make a little cyclone. See what's happening there? A little cyclone action. We're giving them a swirly like we're a bunch of bullies in high school. We're gonna dry them off on the side of the cup here. Dab them on the paper towel. Dab, dab. To begin with, let's go ahead and use white and blue to make light blue. And now careful not to touch your sand here. I'm just gonna go directly below where my sand is. And I'm just gonna go ahead and bring this line to about halfway on my canvas here. And I'm gonna wrap this around the left edge of the canvas too. And now we can kind of draw the shape of the boat here. It's gonna kind of help us decide where the water is gonna be, because you don't want to color all this with water and then have to paint the boat on top of it. So we're just gonna kind of roughly block out the shape of this boat here so we can draw the water around it. So we're just gonna go ahead and make some measurements. From the bottom here, let's go up about 5 inches or so, and we're just gonna make a little mark here. So I went 5 inches up from the top and about 5 inches from the right. And then from here we can just kind of draw a slightly slanted line like this. Next one, let's find the halfway points of the canvas, all right, and go up a little bit, and about 4 inches in, let's go ahead and make this mark. If you were to divide this canvas into thirds, so we got the top third, the middle third, and the bottom third, we're gonna go ahead and draw our next little point right here, a third of the way up, and we're just gonna go in maybe about 6 inches. So it's gonna be a little bit further in than the last little mark that we made. So now we can kind of combine these two together, and we can combine these two. This should be a slant going down like this. And now you should be about where the ocean meets the sand, and we're gonna be about the halfway point there. Okay, so it's halfway right here where the ocean meets the sand. And then finally, you want a little bit of ocean right here to show through. So the center point of your boat right here is gonna be on the sand about 5 inches in. Okay? And then you can draw this next mark over here. There we go. So you can kind of see that this is where the boat's gonna go here. So everything on the outside of these lines, they're gonna be painted with this watercolor. First off, we're just gonna go ahead and bring this light blue down. So I'm just going back and forth. Now, when you're doing this water, you want the water to be very, very textured looking. So don't blend the water in too much, because then you're gonna get one flat color. We wanna be able to see these individual brush strokes in separate colors. So don't work your brush in too much, because it'll just flatten out. And that's not what we're going for here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and bring this down a little bit here. And I suggest you go into your boat a little bit. It's fine, you're gonna lose the shape of your boat, but that's just a template anyways. So now that we have this light blue color right here, we're gonna introduce some green into it. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of this green and I'm gonna put it right into where my water is right here. And it's gonna give me this beautiful marine color. And then from here, that's where I'm gonna just work my brush side to side. All right, so we're just doing horizontal brush strokes, and we're just gonna go ahead and fill in these lines like this. And I'm just gonna kind of skip around right here into the light blue. I'm gonna go into my boat a little bit, And this same color is gonna go down to about 2/3 of the way down the canvas. Let's bring this color over to the side of the painting as well. And now finally we're just gonna add a little bit more regular blue. And then from the bottom we're just gonna go up. And we're just filling in this space. Remember not to brush in the colors way too much, because then you'll get one flat color, and we wanna be able to see these individual colors here. And now it's time to build upon these a little bit, so I'm just gonna use that same blue. And I'm gonna turn my brush sideways like this. You see how it's thinner sideways? Instead of painting like this with a brush like that, I'm gonna paint so it's thin like this. And then I can just go in here and draw a couple of waves with this darker blue color here. I'm just gonna introduce some waves. Remember not to work them in too much. You kind of just wanna make a line or two and leave it there, because we want to have these brush strokes. That's what's gonna kind of make these waves here. And now I'm gonna add a little bit of green back into it. So I got a little bit of green now, and now I'm just gonna make some of these waves down here. And I'm just gonna kind of like go horizontal with my lines here. And we're just making some textures. It's all about the textures with this painting. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of white on my brush and introduce it to that color over here to the side. So I have this way lighter version of these colors that I've been using. And these are the ones that I'm gonna bring over to this side over here, across the top. I'm gonna have some nice ones coming from the side. So just skip around here and there wherever you feel like there should be like a little bit of a highlight. More of the highlights are gonna go across the top. It's gonna get a little bit less highlighty as you go down. And let's not forget this little triangle over here. And I'm gonna lighten him up with this lighter color here. But we can actually move on to the clouds now. So we can go ahead and put Megatron into the water. And the next brush we're gonna use is Ignacio. So we can take Ignacio, put him in the water cup, dry him off, and now I'm gonna teach you guys how to make clouds the way that I wish I was taught how to make clouds. So what you do is you take Ignacio and put on a little bit of this white paint here. You just want a little bit, you don't want too much white paint on there, because you kind of want these clouds to be a little see-through. And if you use too much paint, it's just going to be totally opaque. You won't be able to see through it. You want to draw the top shade of the cloud first. So like let's say I want my cloud to be kind of this shaped. Like some pretty big bulbous part over here, and it kind of like fizzles out. And then from the top part of the cloud, I'm just going to take my brush and work it in a circle like this. And then you'll see that the cloud is just starting to fill out, and it's becoming less and less opaque. And that's kind of the shape you're going for right there. And I'm just going to take the edges. I don't want them to be like such perfect round shape. So I'm going to kind of distort the shape a little bit and kind of like making the shape a little bit more cloud-like and less perfect. I'm going to make another cloud coming from over here. So I'm just going to draw the top shape of this cloud here. Go across however wide I want the cloud to be. And then I'm just going to work my brush in a circle to bring it down a little bit. So remember, you only want a little bit of paint on your brush. You don't want to have a bunch. And I'm going to put a cloud up here. Yeah, coming from the top. Then I'm going to go make it as wide as I want, and I'll start filling it from the top down. I'll start another little cloud like over here. This one's going to drop down a little bit lower. Kind of has like a three-dimensional effect when you start overlapping clouds. And it's fine if you overlap your mountain. We're going to add some details to the mountain here in a moment, so it's cool if you overlap it. That way it looks like the mountains are really sitting on top of the cloud. And now we can move on to the mountains. So I'm going to take my brush here, I'm going to put a little bit of brown paint on it. Not too much, because we're about to practice a technique called dry brushing. So I have just a little bit of brown paint, and I'm really going to wear the paint thin on my brush here. And I'm just going to go around and like lightly go over this whole brown patch right here. I'm just going to bring a little bit of brown into this green here. And you won't really see it that much, like covering the whole thing. And then on the right side here, I'm going to kind of control the brown to make it look like it's like a mountain within itself. I'm just going to take my brown and kind of like go across like this. So it looks like it's a little cliff here. And then we can color in this bottom part here with a little bit of brown. And now I'm going to take my brush, I'm not going to worry about cleaning it off. I'm just going to dip it into the dark green paint right here. And now I can start doing some of the shadows and things on the mountaintop here. So for example, if I want it to overlap, like this front mount to overlap this one, I'm just going to take where it overlaps here and I'm just going to draw a dark line going out into the center. And this is going to create a shadow behind it, which is going to make it look like this mountain in the back is more in the distance. So I'm just going to dab my brush. I'm not doing any brush strokes because I want the texture again to be more well textured. And now with that same color, I'm going to kind of bring it out on this side and I'm going to create like another little mountain shadow. And this one's going to shoot across from like this corner right here down to getting near the center of the canvas here. All right, and then we're just going to fatten this up a little bit towards the left. Now I want to add a little bit of highlights to the mountain here. So I'm going to take my brush and add some yellow to it like this. So I'm going to add a little bit of white to that to make it even more light. And we'll kind of like highlight the area in front of the shadow there to make it stand out more. I'm going to introduce some of this color right here on behind this shadow as well. Kind of lighten that part up a little. Okay, and then I'm just going to create these little dabs right here into the front mountain. And it's going to kind of follow through over to this side of the mountain too. So we're kind of combining these two parts. All right, and then we're going to add a little bit right here. Actually, I want to make it a little bit darker, a little bit of the darker stuff. So I'm just going to add a little bit of dark green onto my brush. And we're just going to darken up this part one more time. All right, that looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit of shadow right here. So that's the second layer of the mountains. Now we're just going to go in there and add some trees and whatnot, add some foliage. So I'm going to put Ignacio into the water cup here. And we're going to use the brush we haven't used yet. And his name is Little Tito. And now we're going to go ahead and put the dark green on him. And right along this, where the sand meets the mountains, I'm just going to create a little line of made out of a series of dabs. And I'm just going to create a little border right here, just kind of separating the two. Okay, so let's go ahead and make some trees. I'm just going to put some more of that dark green on my brush. Very lightly, I'm just going to make a really tall triangle, like an inch from the edge of the canvas. And I'm just going to bring it up about 1 inch. And now I'm going to put a little bit of black on my brush. And I'm just going to darken that up a little bit. Because you won't be able to see this tree because it's the same color as the shadow on the front. And now this next tree here is going to be a little bit taller than that one. So space it out about another inch. Okay, and now there's a small one right next to it. So I'll go ahead and just build up a little small guy. And now off in the very, very distant, you can see some more little trees. So I'm push down very lightly. Draw about 6 or 7 of them. And now right in here, we can draw some trees. So I'm going to use a little bit more black than green this time around. That way you can really see it clearly. And just make it out of little dabs. We're just dabbing on these little trees. And there's a few more right next to it, so just follow that hill going up and draw those little homeboys in there. And let's go ahead and make some trees over here on this side too. It's the same technique. There's going to be about 7 trees over here on the right hand side. Alright, so make them kind of tall. I'm just going to make this first one, make them nice and tall. And we just want to make them to like a little triangle shape. And we don't want the edges to be very flat and smooth. We want it to be bushy. So kind of really make those edges bushy. We're going to go in and refill in that template here. So we're going to take Megatron back out and we're going to refill in where this boat's going to go. The next color we're going to use is pure white. So with this white, I'm just going to go back and fill in some of the areas that were kind of lost when I did the water here. And now we'll just fill in where the water's touching with the white paint again. So you don't have to paint the whole part white, just where there's ocean on it. And we'll put Megatron back into the water. And now we're gonna go ahead and take Ignacio out.
Ignacio.
And now we're gonna make a little bit of light blue. So again, we're just gonna take a little scoop of this white paint, put it over here by the blue, take a little bit of blue, mix it together. And now I'm just gonna run my brush along the edge of the boat, kind of curving it up a little bit, separating it from the boat like this. And now we can go right along the edge of the boat here. And then we'll fill in this little area. And now over here, let's just take our brush and go on maybe like half an inch. We'll just make a little line right here. And first thing we'll do is we'll outline this line from the boat. And now we're gonna connect it from the top of this triangle right here to the top of where we made a mark right here. And I want this thing to kind of have a curve at the top here. So I'm just going to bring this up a little bit higher. The top of this blue here should be near the top of your canvas, like kind of in front of your first mountain. And there's going to be a line that goes straight up. So find the center point right here. The point of your boat is right here. You want to offset it maybe like an inch to your left. So I'm going to offset it. I'm going to make this pole right here, going straight down. So that's kind of the shape that we're going for there. Now that we have that color in there, I'm just going to add some white and make a little bit of a lighter blue here. And with this light blue, I'm just going to outline this line one more time. And then one more. This one's going to kind of trace along the boat here and kind of swing up towards the center right there. And then one more time from the top. Kind of give yourself a little line right here. It has like a separation between the light blue and the dark blue right here. And we'll kind of continue this line right here. We'll draw one line right here along the boat. Okay, so those are kind of like the midtones and the highlights. I'm gonna go in with the true blue, so the blue not mixed with anything else. And I'm just gonna create a little swoop right here. And I'm gonna ease in that swoop by just tracing it a couple times and bringing it out to the left. And I'm gonna do one more with a line right here. I'm just gonna add the blue coming out. And then one more time with the blue from here. We're gonna clean off Ignacio, and the next color we're gonna use is red. Alright, so I'm just gonna kind of draw the shape of the red part of the boat. This line you want it to get thicker as it comes out, so it's gonna start closer in, and it's gonna start to open up. And you want to be about an inch to an inch and a half right here on the white, and maybe like an eighth of an inch or a quarter of an inch over here. And we'll just draw a little marker right here, and then we'll just draw a line connecting those two. We'll just trace this part over here on the left, and then we're just going to mark where we want this bottom layer right here. I'm going to do it about an inch from the center point, and then we'll just draw a line going across. Moving on over on this side, just going to draw another line here and make this one go off the page and wrap it around. Alright, and now I'm just going to bring this in a little bit, because what we're about to do is make a lot of texture right here. And now we're going to finally take Megatron back out. Megatron is about to make an appearance. So we're going to dip both sides of Megatron into the paint. And now we're just going to go completely crazy with the texture on this painting. We're not going to just do down, right, or diagonal strokes. We're going to do all three. We want this part of the boat to be very, very, very textured and have paint coming from every which way. Everything that's white inside the boat, between those two lines, you can go ahead and fill it in with red. And make sure you paint the right side of the painting as well, this edge over here. And now you can see the painting start to come together a little bit. Now I'm going to take a scoop of this red paint here. I'll put it over here to the right on the side. And I'll take a little bit of this white paint. I'm going to mix it together. I'm going to make kind of like a pinkish color. And now I'm just going to add this color here and there, just to break up the texture a little bit. Right, and now finally I'm going to go in with a little bit of yellow, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add some yellow, and I'm just going to make it kind of disappear with my brush strokes, because you don't want a ton of yellow on there. You want there just to be a hint of it. So just go ahead and bring some yellow in there. So I'm going to add a little bit of blue to this red here, and make kind of like a purpley color, and then I'm just going to go ahead and just add a little bit of this to the right side over here. Just kind of create some shadows there. Go ahead and just mix it in every which way. Alright, so we're going to let that dry. So we have this ball right here on the bottom left corner. So I'm just going to take Ignacio, dip him into my white paint. The corner of it is kind of near the boat right here around this corner. So you can just draw a little marker right here. He's kind of an oval shape because half of him, or a little part of him right here, is beneath the water. So just go ahead and make a little mark about 2 inches up from the canvas. And now what you want to do is just draw a circle from those 2 marks right there. And we're going to fill this circle in with white. So now I'm just going to round him out a little bit over here. And I'll round him out down here as well. Alright, we're going to let that chill. And now we can go ahead and start doing some of the sea foam right here. And we're just going to do that with some white and a little bit of that teal color that we made earlier. And we're just going to dab this brush right along the shore. Then I'll go over it one more time just with the white. And now we'll go ahead and paint these bad boys over here blue. So go ahead and clean Ignacio off, and we're just going to go ahead and take care of it. This part over here blue as well. And now we're carefully going to trace this line right here. And I'm going to put a little bit of light blue on this. And I'm going to lighten up this left side over here. So now let's go ahead and grab a little bit of black. Just a little bit, because a little bit of black goes a very long way. And I'm just going to draw a line right here in the center. And then I'm just going to add this black going back this way. That's the bottom stripe. Let's go ahead and clean off our brush and we'll do the top stripe. Now this one is actually a gray color. So what we'll do is we'll just take a little bit of our white, put it off to the side, and then take just a little bit of black. And we're going to mix it together and form a gray paint. And now I'll just grab a little bit of this light blue because I want a little light blue into this. So it's not just gray paint. That's the color. Now I can retrace this line right here and clean it up. Alright, so we just do a little bit of gray on that whole left side. Alright, so now we can go ahead and draw the halfway point right here on the top part of the boat. So for that, I'm just going to get a little bit of white paint on my brush. I'm just going to draw a little line right here at the halfway point. And that right there is separating the 2 halves of the boat. And we'll just lighten it up over here on this side and make this a nice sharp corner here. So I'm going to put Ignacio back into the water here. And now I'm going to get little Pytho out. And I'll put a little bit of white paint on him. And now I'm just going to draw a straight line going up here. Probably about 3 inches long or so. And now we're going to go ahead and move on to this part of the boat again, the big red part. And for that part, I'm going to take Megatron back out. Now we're going to dip it into the yellow paint. So again, this yellow paint, I'm just going to go ahead and use my brush and make it go in every which way. I'm going to lighten up this dark part down here a little bit. A little bit of red, a little bit of yellow. Add some yellow over here on this side. And now we're just going to go ahead and make this dark purple again, one more time. So it was just a little bit of blue with the red. And now we're just going to take our brush and we're just going to make a straight line going down. And then we're just going to take that line and kind of like bring it out into the rest of this dark part of the boat here, while also taking some red and putting it on top of that. So we can take Megatron and put him back into the water here. And now we're going to get out Ignacio. So we're just going to make some of this shadow that's right here beneath the boat and beneath the ball here. So I'm going to take a little bit of black and mix it with a little bit of blue. I'm making a dark blue. And from the bottom here, I'm just going to kind of draw out some wave shapes. So I'm just drawing some horizontal lines coming out this way. And again, I'm making like individual lines. I'm not really painting on there over and over again, because then you're going to get a flat color. And we don't want any flat colors. We just want the dark blue to really stand out here. Alright, so this dark blue is going to go along the whole base of this boat. And then this shadow right here, it kind of like forms into a little triangle. So we're just going to kind of trace this boat over here on this side. Create this nice shadow. I'm just using blue and black. If it gets a little bit too black, I'll just add some blue and vice versa. There we go. And now I'm just with a little bit of blue, I'm just going to bring this out. Alright, it's perfect. And now I'm going to apply that same principle and add a shadow right here underneath the ball. So I'm just going to carefully trace underneath the ball right here with this dark color. And we're just going to go out into the water. Add a little bit of blue in there. So now we're going to go ahead and clean off Ignacio one more time. And the next color we're going to use is light blue. So that's the white and the blue mix. So with this light blue, I'm just going to kind of trace this right side of the ball here. And I'm just going to bring my brush and keep bringing it over while curving it like this. And now I'm going to take my white paint and I'm just going to go ahead and form a circle over here A little bit more white, and now I'm just gonna add it over here on this part of the ball. Clean it off again, more white, and now I have my white coming in from all the way here on the top left. And then I'll just work my brush in a circle to mix it in with everything. All right, and over here is actually kind of gray. So I'm gonna go back to my gray color, which is black and white together. And then my gray is just gonna come in like right over here. Just gonna bring it right in there on top of my blue. And I'm just gonna bring it all the way across on my left. Clean off my brush, add pure white to my brush, and then we're just gonna work in this circle one more time. And now let's go ahead and add a little bit of like a little stem right here. This is the part where the rope connects to this ball. Add a little blue. And now we're just gonna move on to the next little section here. We're gonna put some red on Ignacio, and we're just gonna draw a curved line going down like this. And it's a curved line, so it's gonna curve back up, kind of follow the shape of the ball here, and then we're gonna fill that in down here. Alright, and I'm gonna get little Pytho out because he can handle these small little corners a little bit better than my other brush. Okay, awesome. And now let's go and put that purple back onto our brush, so that's the blue and red mix. And we're just gonna add some of this purple over here on the bottom right, where the shadow goes. Maybe a little bit of purple run down here on this corner. Go ahead and clean off little Pytho. And we're gonna use blue paint. So you can just go ahead and go with regular blue. And we're just gonna make a little curved line about right here. It's gonna curve up and then down. And we're just gonna thicken that line up a bit. Alrighty, and now I'm just gonna add a little shadow here with a little bit more of that purple. And now the last major chunk that we need is just this rope right here that's kind of hanging from the ball to the boat. So I'm gonna get little Pytho back out, and I'm just gonna use my pure white paint. So I'm gonna get plenty of paint on little Pytho. And I'm just gonna go ahead and go for it. So at first it comes from the ball and it kind of like loops out. And then it has some gravity to it. So it has like a little line coming like this. It's gonna connect to around right here, about an inch from this little antenna thing. So we can go ahead and draw another line like this. And now our job is just to connect those two with a line. And to make it kind of like a rope texture, I'm just gonna go and I'll do it from the middle so you can see here. And I'm just gonna create like a little loop like this. And I'm gonna keep that loop going along the whole length of the sailboat here. We just have to trace this little black line that separates the red from the gray. So I'm just gonna dip little Pytho into the black paint, and I'm just gonna go ahead and carefully outline that section. And now we're just gonna wrap it up with just doing some of this red reflection right here on the bottom. So I'm just gonna wrap that up by putting some red on my Ignacio. And then I'm just gonna go back and forth and create some nice hints of red right here along the bottom. And you can go out down to this territory over here. Just make it in a triangle if you can. Alright, and that's everything that you need to know in order to paint this painting right here. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Every time I do one of these painting tutorials, I do a giveaway for the painting that I painted in the last video. So this week's winner is... Congratulations. Be sure to message me on the back end of my channel so I can get your contact info and mail that painting over to you. I just made a Patreon page, so if you guys want to support the show, the link is down below. I have a bunch of little prizes and little gifts set up. We can make this show a little bit more collaborative. One of the goodies that you could get is this t-shirt right here. Very, very limited edition. Only 20 exists in the entire universe. And one of them can be yours. Again, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And until next time, stay creative. Be sure to check out some of these other videos that I have floating around somewhere. They're probably around here somewhere. I don't know. Find them. They're cool.